Hello, once again, good people. Today we have our What We Learned video this week. And a little bit of caveat. The week got busy last week. Went to Comic Con yesterday. I did not have time to edit our What We Learned video from last week. So you guys will once again be getting two of those. What we learned from technically 2 weeks ago, and then from what we learned this past week. And the one from this past week is the one today. So now that we got that covered, Jacob, what did you learn this week?
So what I learned, it spanned about a week and a half. So it's a little bit, and you have to bear with me, Raymond, because I got inspired. I got very passionate about what I learned. So on socials, we're subscribed to a couple of channels. So on YouTube, Blurred Without Fear, and then also Black Comic Lords. So on the 8th of April, Blurred Without Fear had a live, and I said, okay, let me jump on this and see what it's about. He was interviewing a gentleman by the name of Sebastian A. Jones. A lot of people call him Seb. So found out, didn't know who he was, a black man from Britain. He came to the U.S. when he was about 18, more or less for the past about, I think, 40 years or so, 30 years or so. He's been in America, in Hollywood. But he is the founder and owner of Stranger Comics, and he founded it in 2008. So his story is very interesting. When he was 13 in boarding school in England, kids made fun of him because of his appearance, and also, he's a self-described nerd. He liked playing D&D and stuff like that. But he had a character named Niobe. And from 13 till now, I think it's like in his early 50s, he has created this character. So that to me is like astounding that you have a character that you basically nurtured as if it was like from childhood all the way through adulthood. And he's created his own universe called Asunda. It's comprises of Niobe's kind of like the central character, but he has some series called Untamed and some others. And he's working with Viola Davis and her husband, Julius.
What?
Yeah. So he's passed on a couple other offers from Hollywood producers, TV shows, movie networks, whatnot, to turn his stories into a series. But he's working with her, and they're producing some animations. He just dropped a trailer for it, I think last week or so, and he's gonna have a full trailer at San Diego Comic-Con. So anyway, Untamed and all these. Say what?
You should definitely read this.
Yes, we're gonna put for sure. I didn't realize. Okay, so that was the first, and so I was seeing the comment, I was seeing the chat, and I was like, damn, a lot of people know this guy, and like he must have been around. I didn't know. So the following
Looks
week,
good for being in his 50s too.
on the 15th of April, I got on a Black Comic Lords live. This is a group that was founded in 2021, but they have a website and they're multi-platform, but they are kind of a hub for Black indie comics. The publishers, writers, artists, just creators. So you can get a whole list, and Raymond will need to put obviously some of those publishers and issues on our
Oh,
rotation.
good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Oh,
but the thing that the particular live I went on, they were saying Black Indie Comic Flex Part 2. So this is a two of two series, but it was about 5 or 6 people, and they were kind of like going around flexing on their collection. And some people had some very expensive, highly graded issues, signed, remarked, original artwork, metal. I was like, God damn, man, they got some impressive collections.
makes my stuff look like child's play.
Makes my stuff non-existent,
Dude,
you
it's like
know?
most of my stuff is just a collection of stuff that I like. And, there's nothing in here that's, I would say there's one thing in here that's pretty expensive, which I
Yeah,
won't say.
yeah, keep that on lock.
There's only one thing in here that I would like flex like that. But yeah, I bet those people had some crazy flex.
And
I
this is the extent of their collection. And by the way, I subscribe to all of them across platforms, so I'm hoping for us to get plugged into that community. But that was just Black indie comics. I can only imagine like the Marvels and
Yeah.
DCs that they have. They have boxes and boxes and boxes, like vaults worth of stuff. But they were flexing some of the Stranger Comics issues, and I said, "God damn, man, Stranger Comics again! I've heard this thing." So
Yeah,
that's what I learned. I learned about Stranger Comics. I learned about Seb Jones, and
very cool.
it's an inspiration to know that there's a very robust community of Black comic book creators
Yeah, yeah,
to learn from.
yeah. Honestly, I'm looking at it and I want to read this. I'm like digging the way the artwork looks.
Yep.
It looks dope. It looks super dope.
There's an actress, Amandla Stenberg. She's been in a couple of movies, not a couple, quite a few actually. But she co-wrote a couple of the Untamed series with Sebastian, and so she has that as a credit. She's a comic book writer. She was kind of the muse for some of the artwork for Nalby's kind of character. So yeah, he's plugged in, and he worked in the music industry for like 10+ years when he first came to the States. He was like a producer and helped with production or operations rather.
Okay.
So
Okay, I recognize who she is now. Okay.
yeah,
She was in the Acolyte Star Wars TV show.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I think like the Hunger Games and stuff
Hunger
like that.
Games.
Yeah,
Was she the kid in Hunger Games?
yeah.
My God. Holy shit.
And there was a
She was the
movie.
kid in Hunger Games. Wow.
There was a movie, Columbiana, I think it's called. She played the kid.
Not Gal Gadot. What's her name? Zoe Saldana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was the child version of that character. But so I learned a lot from
Hell
jumping
yeah.
on these lives and just learning about this much bigger community and culture that's
Yeah.
out there.
Hell yeah. No, that's dope. That's dope. Okay. So I'm gonna change my what we learned, what I was gonna do, because I got a couple that I want to do, but you inspired me to do the more inspirational one. And so I went to the Salem Comic Con this past weekend, this past Saturday. Met a bunch of really cool people, got a lot of great information and advice. You guys don't know, Jacob and I are writing our own comic book. So talking to people who are, deep into the game was really cool. Mike Grell is a highlight. I will put a picture of him up there. But it's crazy when okay, I didn't realize how much I like Christopher Nolan's movies until I got older. When I was like, oh my God, all these movies are Christopher Nolan movies. I like
Mm,
these movies. And I was the same way with Mike Grell. He helped create one of my favorite issues or storylines, whatever you want to call it. The Green Arrow and Green Lantern series. Super incredible. I love it. But I did meet a guy, an ex UFC fighter, and he created his own comic book, Zombie Cage Fighter. He signed it and everything. And I'm choosing this, what I learned this week, because what I learned is that comic book creators really do come from all walks of life. So if you think you're doing something else, and you're like, man, with comic books, that's I like them, but, I don't really think I I match well with the comic book community, perhaps. I would say expand your thought process on that because this guy's story was incredibly cool. He was actually a UFC fighter back in the day when it was still, getting his
Wild Wild
legs
West.
underneath it. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think he was a little bit after the Wild West. So I think it
Okay.
was like early 2000s was his
Yeah.
heyday.
Well, they had weight classes and
Exactly.
right.
And he and his friends were just kind of talking about comic books and he really wanted to sort of describe his life, and basically his question for whatever reason was, I wonder what it would be like to fight a zombie hand to hand. And that was
Yeah.
the inspiration for the whole series. So I have not read it yet. I am excited to read it, but basically what I learned this week is that an ex UFC fighter has a comic book series, so that's pretty cool.
But
And I'll
when
put
you
a picture up of obviously of Nate Rock Quarry. No question, you look at this man and you be like, okay, nah, this dude gets busy for sure. No question. No
but
question.
you said at the beginning, when you said you know comic book writers, creators come from all walks of life, and comics is storytelling.
Mhm.
Essentially, at the end of the day, that's its DNA. Everyone, if you're alive as a human, you have a story.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
anyone could write a comic
Yep.
book because it's a story.
Yep. And I think that's what we're aiming to highlight on this channel specifically. All the Marvels, the DCs, the fun stuff we do. I think like a main thing is just to kind of highlight that you can be from any walk of life and enjoy comic books. There's something out there for you, 1000%. I'm excited to read this. I'm absolutely excited to read it. Cool. Short and sweet. Anything else you want to add, Jacob?
Nope, I'm just gonna jump on Stranger Comics and we'll start
Yeah.
getting some
I
issues.
know. That's what I'm thinking too. And I'm wondering if they have any like physical ones at the store. Might have to ask.
Yeah, we'll ask our local shop.
Because I absolutely want to get the physical versions of that.
Yeah. No, I'm
Okay,
good.
cool, cool. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you next week with what we learned.
Peace.